I've had an earworm for the last week. Of all the songs you shared, of course, it's the G.G. Allin one.
Of course.
It's been stuck in my head for a week.
You're welcome?
I got G.G. Allin earworm. That sounds like it needs an antibiotic. Like, what?
It sounds like you need ivermectin. Hello again, everybody. This is a few of my favorite songs.
Podcast.
I am Aaron Spadero, and I'm here with my co-host, David Halstead.
Yo-ho.
And we have a few more songs to abuse you all with today. As I started last time, it's now Dave's turn to start with a song. Take it away.
Okay, well, sometimes you hear a song that's clearly just like a top 40 pop song, but it's got something more to it.
Yeah.
It has some special quality that makes it from something that's going to be forgotten in 2 years versus a timeless classic.
Of course.
Today, I want to start off with Dreaming by Blondie.
Blondie. All right, let's hear it.
All right, so I'm guessing you're familiar with that song.
Yeah, I've heard it before. I've done some dives into Blondie land before.
You know, I was sort of a latecomer to Blondie because I got into punk in my early teens, and she was part of that early punk scene in the 70s, the CBGBs and all that. But Blondie, to me, it's like the main song I knew was Heart of Glass. And I'm like, Blondie's a pop singer. It was like, if you asked me as a teenager, I probably said Blondie's not punk.
Yeah.
But, you know, you grow up and you realize you were an idiot, as most teenage boys are. You start to appreciate things that aren't just blah, 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 that have, oh, hey, melody's nice sometimes.
No, I kind of agree. It's like Blondie is punk in the same way that Billy Idol is punk. Had a lot of mainstream likability, but ultimately he did still, like, they both still had, like, a punk message and a punk vibe to them.
Blondie might not be from the other side of the tracks, but has definitely gone to the other side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Been over there.
Gone and slept overnight there over at the Ramones place, you know, that kind of thing.
Think about, like, pop stars, you know, back then versus, like, what we had to go through growing up. Blondie, Debbie Harry could knock so many of these other pop stars out of the water, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to argue with you on this one, because there always have been, at least as long as I've been alive, mainstream pop punk musicians. You know, you could say the same thing about, like, even The Offspring or Green Day, that they have a little bit of a pop vibe to them, that they have a mainstream appeal to them. More recently, My Chemical Romance. There's always been
I was thinking more in terms of, like, female pop singers.
Okay, yeah.
Like, there's very few of them that write their own material.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the positives I'll say about Taylor Swift. Like, not my style of music, but hey, she's got more talent than a lot of people who've come before, a lot of manufactured pop icons who have like 40 people who make music for them and it has no message at all. Taylor Swift has, you know, does what art is supposed to do. It writes, you know, creates a message that the audience, her audience, connects with. Like, that's what this is supposed to do. You know, music is supposed to, you know, reach people.
You heard it here first, folks. Dave is pro Taylor Swift.
I am pro Taylor Swift, yeah.
That means you cannot come after him, and if you do, well, you're obviously prejudiced, so just shut up.
If you compare Taylor Swift to, say, a shall not be named slutty mouseketeer who dances with knives.
You know what? Leave Britney alone.
Leave me alone!
No. You will get people coming after you for that one. And there's some hella interesting parts to that story that we are not delving into right now. Like, I will defend Britney. Like, I don't care much for Taylor Swift. Don't come after me. But I will defend Britney and the life that she has had to deal with. So, back to
Blondie.
Back to Blondie.
Debbie Harry. So this song, now, if you had asked me to pick a Blondie song to highlight and talk about, this probably wouldn't have been the first one that came up to my mind. I mean, you could talk about Hanging on the Telephone, Ex-Offender, Heart of Glass.
Hanging on the Telephone's one hell of a song.
Oh yeah, I love that song. That was probably the song that made me reconsider listening to Blondie.
Yeah.
This one is the one that's been stuck in my head for the last few weeks.
Okay.
Actually. And I'll say it was this song that inspired me to want to do this podcast.
This one specifically, and
this
not all
one
the other
specifically.
ones. Okay, that's good to know.
I guess the best way is just get into the lyrics and what they're about. It starts off, when I met you in the restaurant, you could tell I was no debutante. You asked me what's my pleasure, a movie or a measure. I'll have a cup of tea and tell you about my dreaming. This is actually autobiographical of how Blondie met Chris Stein, the guitarist for the band. You know, what are you into? Movies, music, you know, kind of that, like the conversation starts.
Yeah.
And they start talking about their common interests, common goals, and that was like the origin story for their band.
Fascinating.
That, to me, is what the song Dreaming is all about. It's about being young and having ambitions. You know, the life that gives you. It's a dream life. You know, maybe you don't succeed, but it's like, it is enriching to still have that dream, whether you become a pop star, a top 40 icon like Debbie Harry did or not, you know?
Yeah.
The line, dreaming is free, it's like, you know, you might not have, like, the money to get the best equipment or to move out to, say, Hollywood, New York City, to follow your dreams. You know, dreaming is free. You know, how many times have you yourself or you've seen other people, they think about what it would be like to be a movie star, to be a musician, to work creatively or be famous. You know, there's a dream element to that some people erroneously would say, well, it's not worth it unless you have the ambition to succeed in that. And I say, no, the dreaming itself can be enriching to your life.
That actually ties into something that I kind of believe about art specifically, about the idea of creating something beautiful or fascinating, where a lot of people first question you, or they ask you when you say that you're creating a thing, is, oh, are you planning on making money off of it? No, you don't. This is a human behavior, not a money-making scheme. I get that everybody needs money to survive. I get that there are versions of this that, you know, there are versions of dreams that involve it paying for the house and you don't have to do anything else anymore and you can live in your utopia. But
is the dream about creating the thing or is it about making money? I mean, I think we get into this thing in our society where it's like, if you're not doing it to make money, then it's not worth doing. Don't listen to that criticism because those people go home, sit on their ass, eat a bag of Cheetos while they watch TV because they think that's all there is to life. They're living a hollow existence. If
if I want to live a hollow existence eating a bag of Cheetos while watching TV, it's a conscious choice.
Yeah, it's like, I'll do that some nights, but I don't do it every single day, you know? Well, as someone I heard probably put it better, if you were in your 30s and you were like, yeah, I'm going out with some friends to play basketball, there's no expectation that you're trying
Well,
to get into
are you gonna
the
get into the
NBA.
NBA?
Yeah.
Are you gonna
That would
are
be
you
an
gonna play
absurd thing.
professionally?
But, it's you're spending time with people, you're exercising, and people can see the value of that without you doing it to make money. Going out and playing a game with friends, whether it's basketball or whatever, is a social activity, it's a physical activity. People understand that. And there are other forms of exercise, too. Exercise by creativity, by making things like paintings or writing a book, and you don't need to be monetarily successful to be successful, or to find fulfillment in that.
To dream is a human behavior. To follow those dreams is something you just need to be human.
What I love about this song is it touches on that, but not in an empty-headed, head in the clouds way. It's like, dreaming is free, the idea of having hard times, of not being rich. You could tell I was no debutante. A debutante is like a young woman from a rich family who can go out into society and do what she wants without having to work for it, pay for it, right? But I also think there's a joke there. Debutante, her name's Debbie.
Yeah.
Debutante.
That works.
But, even though, and she has that great ethereal quality to her voice, but there's also it's not totally clean. It's not like one of those so clean it sounds artificial. Like there's a sultriness, there's an earthiness to her voice. That punk edge, there's that sense of a life lived, and that's in these lyrics too. I don't want to live on charity. Pleasure's real, or is it fantasy? Real to real, as in like movies, real to real, is living rarity. People stop and stare at me. We just walk on by. We just keep on dreaming. I sit by and watch the river flow. I sit by and watch the traffic go. A very street level. Everything's very grounded in reality. We're in a restaurant, going to the movies, talking about not having money to go out and do things.
Oh, yeah.
Walking to get where you need to go. Sitting by a river, sitting by the streets, and being on the streets of New York. There's a groundedness to this that makes the dreaming, you have to have that contrast. Just like she has in her voice this contrast between the ethereal and the gritty.
Yeah.
It's like that contrast needs to be presented for the art to achieve what it's really going for. It's hard to put my finger on that, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
It's like you need those contrasting elements to balance each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Have a meaning that lasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time thinking about this week, so.
It shows. You spend a hell of a lot more time thinking about what you're presenting than what I did.
I also want to credit, what is it called? GeniusLyrics.com or something like that.
Okay.
It's a good source I've found to get some stuff on the music and why it was made. If you scroll past lyrics to the bottom, there's an about section. I got some details there that were very helpful.
Okay.
And the other thing that's really impressive about this song, I think, is the drumming.
Yeah.
It's very active.
Yes.
And the drummer talked about how he was sort of restricted on the first album to keep things subdued. But on this song, apparently this was like an early take, and he was just like, and he was surprised to learn that was the take they used.
No kidding. This is one of those things where are musicians making the songs or are producers making the song?
There definitely was a lot of producer influence on, especially like their previous album, Parallel Lines. But I guess on this album they had a lot more creative freedom.
Okay, you have at least one success that's proven, and suddenly you're allowed to have a little bit more rope.
Plus, I think that when Blondie first came on the scene, they didn't know exactly how to categorize Blondie. She got lumped in with the punks, but that didn't totally fit. Even though she was coming from that scene, that didn't totally fit her aesthetic. By the time you get to this, you have new wave.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now we know where she fits in. And I'm actually a big fan of new wave. And, as we keep going, a lot of 80s new wave will show up in my favorite songs.
And I can't wait for it. All right. Anything else I need to know about or anything that you want to share?
Let's go on to yours.
Well, I picked a band that also has a female singer.
Interesting.
But I didn't do an old 80s band. I, in a tongue-in-cheek way, did a modern band. But it's a modern band that follows one of my favorite genres. Modern bands that have an old 70s heavy rock sound.
Yeah, that's a popular thing to do. It started being popular to do that around the 2000s.
Yeah.
And
you're probably thinking of the same bands I'm thinking of.
Like
Wolf Mother and Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah.
This one is called Castle Rat, and it's a song called Cry For Me.
What is it about 70s music? There's something about the resonance of it, that thrumming, that vroom, vroom.
I almost want to call it a warm tube amp vibe. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it.
A radiating quality.
So I brought up a picture of the band. I'm just going to ask you, what do you think this band looks like?
Geez, I picture sort of. Have you ever seen a folk horror movie like Midsummer? I picture that.
There's a little bit of that in there. I personally think that there's a little bit more Frank Zappa influences into this.
Yeah, I'm getting sort of like Poison Ivy Rorschach from the Cramps.
Yeah. So,
especially with the hair.
Here's another image.
Very much in the snow.
That's actually an image from the Cry For Me music video, which the quality of which is purposefully bad, I swear to God. It's not at I Am the Black Wizard's level of bad for music videos, but it's close. And to be clear, I'm showing him images where Riley Pinkerton, who is the lead singer of Castle Rat, is standing out front with her blown out 70s hair, wearing a chainmail bikini and nothing much else in the snow, holding guitars and swords and stuff like that.
Like that hair, if you saw somebody walking down the street, you might think you were a time traveler.
Yeah, except it's a time traveler back to a medieval fantasy land that never existed.
Yeah, it's simultaneously the 70s and a medieval castle. They got castle in their name. Castle Rat, that's interesting. It does. It's music like this makes me think that there should be old Technicolor horror movies.
Well, yeah.
Like the Hammer British horror films or the Edgar Allan Poe psychedelic movies.
No, you swear that it's a Corman flick.
Yes, Corman. I think I forgot to say Corman.
He's doing an old, Edgar Allan Poe Pit in the Pendulum type thing. And so the band calls itself Fantasy Doom Metal. They're out of Brooklyn, New York. They formed in 2019.
Last 6 years or so.
Into the Realm, which was their first album that this song is off of, came out last year. And they're touring internationally at this point because their music it touches some part of your lizard brain, I swear.
Yeah, like I said, they got that warm, radiating 70s sound.
Yeah.
That's a little trippy,
It's a little
It's
trippy, a little electronic.
very moody.
It feels like it's in the same vein as Black Sabbath's Paranoid in a lot of respects, but they stuck a female singer in there.
I'd say more of like doom metal. You got to look at Masters of Reality. That whole album, yeah.
Yeah, I
very
get what
Children
you're
of the
talking
Grave
about.
vibes.
Yes. It is new music, but it's also a reminder that nothing is truly new or old. A lot of this music is timeless, and it all loops back around. The really good styles out there come back around. Just wait another decade. You'll hear it again.
The grunge is very influenced by the 60s, as is the indie rock revival that was very like the White Stripes and bands like the Hives, Franz Ferdinand. They were all listening to like garage rock stuff from the 60s.
Okay. When you incorporate good music with aesthetic, there are some bands that are all aesthetic, mind you. But when you make it look like a high fantasy painting from the 70s that's fully done on black velvet, that's just gonna pull people in.
There's different ways to describe, going back to the well. There's like, people call it revival, people call it retro, people call it, tradition, in the tradition of blah, blah, blah. And in some ways it kind of feels like, you don't hear anything truly new, but at the same time, not everything needs to be incorporating some new element, and a lot of things that were thought of as new had more influences than people realized, because people did not have the internet back in the day. So if you were only exposed to things through top 40 music, then you might not realize what the influences are, and then you'll be like, oh, this is a new sound. Think about like the 70s or the 60s. This was like the new music. What was it? It was based in folk music, which is ancient.
True. It's kind of immortal.
But people weren't as familiar with it, so it sounded like a new thing.
I've seen live video of these guys on YouTube, and they're playing it all up. They are fully in character for all of this.
That reminds me of a band that I've really gotten into recently called Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats.
Really?
Yes, that very much 70s doom style. They did an entire concept album that's in the style of, 70s Italian giallo. So yeah, I actually bought that album, that concept album, off their website, shipped from the UK.
Well, it's like art influences art, mimics life, mimics art. It's this eternal circle. Not to make it completely epic and blown out of proportions or anything, but I think Castle Rat would appreciate that kind of mentality, because suddenly everything is epic. Everything is this whole new fantasy world that you're just delving into, and you are wielding a sword against these plague rat monstrosities raging across the land, and you are hunting demons, and it's just...
both thematically and stylistically, they're doing things that aren't sort of locked into a place and time. And that means it can be anytime, timeless.
So, hear this first verse. All the freaks are out again. I watched you drag them to your den. They all wake up at once and scream. So whose mouth first you gonna feed? It's evocative. It's like... feels like you're in a horror
bringing
movie.
Freaks to the den, or the freaks in the den, and the freaks need to be fed. So are we feeding freaks, or are we feeding freaks to creatures?
I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think they're coming through Philly at some point this year. I'm gonna try to drag you down there to watch them.
If I was in a band, which I'm not, these are the kinds of guys I would like to go on tour with, because they seem like fun to hang out with, while other bands are like getting drunk, doing drugs, hooking up with groupies. They're getting out D20s, playing Dungeons and Dragons.
It's like, we're on their tour bus. So you know what that means? We're going through Tomb of Horrors again. You got the updated version for 5.0? Yeah, I got the updated version.
But that's not what we're playing.
Oh.
We're going OG.
I don't want to do first edition. Shut up, you're going to do first edition and you're going to like it.
Excellent.
That's all I've got for this.
All right. Well, my next song, sometimes you need to know the story behind why a song was made in the first place to fully appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that is definitely the case with this next song. That seems meaningless when you first hear it, but actually has a lot more going on. And a lot of what they did that seems meaningless is purposeful.
Okay.
The song is Y'all Want a Single by Korn.
Okay.
Y'all want a single, say fuck that. Fuck that, fuck that. Y'all want a single, say fuck that. Fuck that, fuck that. Y'all want a single, say fuck that. Fuck that, fuck that. Y'all want a single, say fuck that. Boom, 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 boom.
All right.
Yes.
We all have a certain relationship with that era of nu metal.
We 90 kids, bro.
We 90s, 2000s kids. That came out in the 2000s. I remember when that came out. We were in high school.
Yes,
freshly,
because we were 90s kids by the time 2000s came around. We were teenagers.
We were in high school. That came out. The edited version of that song was playing on the radio constantly.
The idea that ever got played on the radio, it's like...
No, wait. There was a moment when a lot of nu metal was transforming due to influences from prog metal and other extreme metal into something more. Because this is coming out around the same time that, System of a Down is releasing Steal This Album. This is coming out around the same time that all of these other bands are really trying to buck the music system that's reinventing itself on the fly to deal with stuff like Napster and LimeWire. So what does this mean to you? It obviously has a couple of things that come to my brain.
So this is part, to me, of a long tradition of musical artists who gain some success, but are then dealing with the business side of the music industry. The business side that doesn't treat them, we'll put it this way, it doesn't treat them ideally how they would expect to be treated.
No, of course not.
Again, it's a long tradition. A band like Korn, when they were starting out, probably, if anyone said one day that you guys were going to be the top-selling recording artists in the U.S., that would have been like, what are you talking about? Our niche little mix of hip-hop and metal is going to become popular one day?
They actually are really, really good musicians.
But did they expect to become one of the biggest things in music?
No, because can you imagine being a 1982 record executive, seeing 10 years into the future and seeing that? No, it's absurd. It's absurd. It's like what's going on with them? Is this a rap act? No. Is it goth? No. Wait, maybe. I don't know. What's going on here? We can't do this.
A little bit of Ministry, a little bit of Run DMC,
Yep. It's underground. It's literally looks like it's been crawling through a fucking sewer. It looks like it's coming out of the worst parts of a project housing.
There are reasons that nu metal got a bad reputation, valid reasons. But the idea of a genre of metal, which is all about incorporating elements of other music, hip-hop, industrial electronic, cultural influences
Yep.
for bands like System of a Down. Like, that's a good concept. The idea that was bands like Static X, who called themselves Evil Disco.
Most of the nu metal bands I can think of transformed into something more. Like System of a Down, Static X, Korn, Rage Against the Machine. The only one that I can name that just firmly stayed nu metal is Limp Bizkit. And of course,
Well, that was rap metal. Yeah.
but it's nu metal.
Yeah, which is rap metal.
There.
The reason it died, too, because it was like, well, actually, these could be their own separate things.
Yes and no. I mean, you never really escape your roots, but also it refused to say no, we're specifically one thing. And that actually kind of let those bands that were part of that era have a greater life, a longer life.
And I would say that a lot of this came out of what was happening with elements of groove metal.
Oh, yeah.
Was bands like, before you get nu metal, you get bands like Pantera, White Zombie, even Danzig.
Yeah, okay.
He was more blues metal, but the idea of grooves and stuff like that. And of course, as previously mentioned, Ministry.
Well, Ministry was almost like purely electronic music from the jump, and it
At
had
the start, but then they started to incorporate more
it mutated, it advanced,
thrash metal kind of stuff with the electronic.
it broke containment.
I'm not sure there's anything that could have contained Al Jorgensen.
So let me ask you: do you think a song like this still has importance today? I do, but I want...
Absolutely, and I will go back to referencing Taylor Swift.
Oh,
somebody
dear.
who's absolutely had to jump through hoops to take control of her own creative material from record companies.
Yeah, I believe that.
And
yeah.
like Jonathan Davis of Korn, this isn't just bitching about the record company while you make money from it. It's like he spent a lot of money to get the rights back to the Korn's music library.
I mean, Jonathan Davis is also a guy that helped other bands get their start in the industry. He's also a guy that's collabed with a lot of other musicians.
Like I said, this is part of a tradition. There are a lot. If it was rare for a band to complain about the record industry, this would seem odd. Would seem like, well, what are you complaining about? They give everyone a fair deal. You get the deal you sign up for. You sign on the dotted line. You do take what they give you. But so many bands, so many artists have had so many issues with the record industry.
So the industry that you're describing still exists, but it also now comes off as an archaic dinosaur that a lot of newer musicians can take or leave as they choose. There are a lot more options for self-publishing music. There's a lot more options for going independent. You don't necessarily need a big label to get big. You don't necessarily need other people producing your music to get your music out there.
All right, there's something I want to bring up about Taylor Swift again.
Yeah.
She released a concert movie. She released it to theaters.
Yes.
And you know the story about how she was like, I want to make this movie and release it. And they were like, well, you have to go through these people, movie distribution people.
Okay.
And she's like, well, why do I have to go through them to release a movie? And they're like, well, that's the way it's done. And she said, well, I don't care about the way it's done, and I don't have to play ball with these guys and do things their way. I have the resources to distribute this myself. And she had one of the biggest money makers of that year. I think it was 2020.
And let's face it, she's got a huge name. All she had to do.
She made the money. And she pissed off all these movie studios, the distribution companies, because it was like, well, we wanted our 2 cents of, what you're making. It's like, why? Fuck you, old man. Just because you want to play gatekeeper. You want to decide who gets, no one can go through the door without paying you.
And I mean, she could have done it a lot cheaper, too. Instead of releasing it in a movie theater, she literally could have released it as a video format that you pay one-time price and download it and, still will have made millions off of it doing that way because she's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and I have no sympathy for pencil pushers who are just like, this, you have no talent. You just sit there and go, you need to write us a check because I own blah, blah, blah. It's just like, screw you, old man. You did not make this. This is not your art. This is not you're not talented. If you're standing in the way of getting this out there, why should you make money?
If your job is a shriveled effigy of what used to be and serves no purpose now, why do you even exist? It is a rebuke. I rebuke thee.
One day I'm actually going to have to listen to a Taylor Swift song.
No, wait, full stop. You've heard one, you just can't name it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Have you walked into a 7-Eleven any time in the last 20 years?
Probably not, actually.
A gas station that has the same top 50 hit loop.
Honestly, I pay at the pump. There's nothing in there I want. It's just candy, chips, and beer.
As though candy, chips, and beer aren't important. How dare you, Dave?
Anyways, this song you all want to single, the meaning of it becomes clear when you see the music video, of course.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
And they have, throughout the music video, several messages come up. And I wrote them down here. Music monopoly, ? One corporation owns the 5 major video channels in the U.S. Is that okay? Last year, the big 5 record labels together sold about $25 billion of music. 90% of releases on major labels do not make a profit. I think that's sort of important to recognize.
Yeah.
That one. I want to stop on that one. The fact that, all this music gets put out there, the market can't support all of those bands making a profit.
It feels like gambling. It feels like a roulette table where you're trying to win big on Black 12, and what you're really trying to do is get the next Michael Jackson. Are you going...
Well, this is an old model for how a lot of media businesses make money, which is probably true of a lot of other types of businesses as well, where it's just like, okay, we've got our big acts. Say you're the company that Atlantic Records, I think, has the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
We've got the Rolling Stones. That's going to sell. We have these big tentpole bands, and then we have a bunch of mid-range bands who have an audience but don't sell as well. Then we have bands that we don't know. Maybe there'll be a gem in there that will hit, but we'll make less of those.
So, what, you're using the old standbys to underwrite the new stuff?
Yes. So it's like they'll put out a bunch of stuff on the market. It's a big fishing net. When we pull it in, there will be big fish and little fish, and we'll overall make a profit, even if not everything we put out there makes a profit.
Okay.
And it's not a terrible thing. I'm not condemning that.
That depends how you set up your record deal contract, because if it's a case of everybody loses and everybody loses, but if it's a case of the band doesn't make back money, then you owe money back to the company, then you kind of just bone yourself. There's a lot of different versions of a contract.
It depends on who's making, who's taking the financial risk. Are you doing what the record company wants you to do because they're the ones making the financial risk? So when they say you're going to cut that song down to 3 minutes and you do it because, they're paying your bill versus I've made this and I want to retain the rights to it even if you're releasing it. So in exchange for you giving away the rights to your music, The idea is that you're getting back, they're paying for your studio time, for you to be using high-level equipment to make the album and make all the copies, put them in stores and advertise. And if you are successful, if you sell a lot, this can be a beneficial system. But then there are other issues. There are bands that have lost their album before it was even released because the company decided not to release it. There were times when bands were signed to contracts by major studios and they're thinking, woohoo, we're going to get our stuff released. And no, actually, they're buying your band to bury it because they have another band that sounds like you that they want to push, and they don't want you competing with that band on the radio.
Even worse, when you got situations like you get signed and then the person that signed you gets canned and replaced, and
Yes.
because you are not
Insolvency.
because you're not the project of the new person in charge.
Yes, when things get bought out and taken over, the standard thing to do is to bury everything the previous people were working on.
Yeah.
Cancel all those projects. And I know that Twisted Sister had an album that was never released because that happened. And they've never been able to release it. And it's just like, well, can we buy back the album? No, we don't want you to buy it back and make money from it because we own it. It's just like, well, you're not going to release it. Yeah, we're not going to release it because we won't make enough money from it.
I feel like Skinny Puppy went through that at
Skinny
least
Puppy,
once.
Yes, Skinny Puppy definitely had this happen.
It's,
where they have an album of music which they cannot release because it's owned by other people.
It's just atrocious. Basically, they're not, in a lot of cases, they're not even allowed to play that music live. The music just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, not only can they not release it, they can't play that music live, like you said. Didn't Taylor Swift have to re-record a bunch of her music?
I believe so, yeah.
To have the rights to it or something?
Yep. And trust me, once you think you have a good take of a song, you don't really want to re-record it. It's like, I did the work, I put in the effort.
Well, it can never be the same.
It's not the same.
You can never recapture a moment. Every recording captures a moment. You're never going to totally recapture the moment.
The industry has its horror stories among horror stories.
Yes. As much as there are success stories, there are just as many, if not more, horror stories.
Yeah.
And that's why songs like this exist. That's why you have songs like Radio Radio by Elvis Costello. Or you have the Smiths singing Hang the DJ. Even Head Like a Hole by 9 Inch Nails. He wrote that song to tell the head of a record label to fuck off. That's what that song is.
I can see that.
The head of the corporation, a-hole. He's calling him an asshole. I'd rather die than give you control. This was a records label head that wanted to tone down and soften the Pretty Hate Machine release.
Okay, I could see a version of that came out more like a little bit of an edgier new wave album. But
right,
no,
which is what they wanted.
That's not 9 Inch Nails.
They wanted Depeche Mode, and
no.
he did his music. They were pissed off when he turned in that record because they were like, "This is not what we signed up for.
Too bad.
You lied to us."
Wait. Here's the thing, though. I know a little bit about that record. Like, he mixed that and recorded it all himself. He didn't have a lot of the same backing and help that you would normally get from a company. So it would be purely them being angry about distributing something that they didn't necessarily co-sign onto. But they did co-sign onto it. But
they couldn't bury it because he still had the rights to it.
He owned it.
Yeah. Like, he paid for his own studio time, working at a place where he was allowed to just stay after and record his own music.
Hey, that works.
But yeah, they were like, when we agreed to release this based on your demos, we thought we were getting one thing, and what you turned in was something else, which they didn't see a market for.
They didn't understand. I'm not about to say that it was better or worse than what they asked for. What I am going to say is that people try to make business predictable, and the easiest way is to base it off of something you already know.
Right.
Taking gambits on what you do not know is not a stable business model most people go for.
Right, it isn't. It's like, if something is successful, it's imitated. You see that in movies. You definitely see that in music. Reproducing things over and over and over again to keep selling you the same product.
Except I don't like that model, because that model doesn't really view music
as creative, or even as a vector that's going to have diminishing returns. Let me ask you, Dave, do you remember the 50 million Beatles sound-alike bands that came after the Beatles? Oh my God, there were so many.
There's probably a couple you remember, but you remember the Beatles.
One-hit wonders and stuff, right?
You remember mostly the Beatles for being the Beatles. And everything after that, it's just kind of like, meh. All right, is there anything else that you would like to go over concerning Korn and the All Wanna single?
It's catchy.
It is very catchy.
It's purposely almost obnoxiously catchy.
It is a goddamn earworm. I almost prefer Twisted Transistor, believe it or not.
Oh, I think that's a better song.
It is a better song.
I mean, it's funny that this got released as a video at all, because obviously the song off of that album that was the big hit and probably one of their best songs was a title I'm blanking on. Hold on. Did My Time.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is one of their best songs, if not their best song, in my opinion.
I have my opinions. Did My Time is a good song, but I don't know if it's my favorite by them. I don't know if it is their best. I might argue that.
That's why I said it's my opinion. You can't argue that it's not my opinion.
I will if I want.
You can disagree with my opinion.
I will disagree with you.
You can't argue that that's not my opinion.
Fine. All right.
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives. And he's saying, well, we can't take a chance on this because it's just simply, that's not what the kids really want. And I know, and they got that attitude. And the day you get rid of that attitude and get back to, who knows, take a chance, that entrepreneurial spirit where even if you don't like or understand what the record is that's coming in the door, the person who is in the executive chair may not be the final arbiter of taste of the entire population.